The laughter hit me first. It was loud, careless, the kind of laughter that fills a quiet restaurant and makes everyone look. But what froze me wasn't the laughter itself. It was the voice behind it. Miss. She sat at the far end of the brunch table, her hair tied up the way I'd always liked, her fingers wrapped around a mimosa glass. She was leaning close to her friend Claire, giggling like a teenager. I stood at the counter, waiting for the server to bring the extra napkins I'd asked for, watching her without really meaning to. Then I heard it. "Those vows didn't mean much anyway," she said, her tone teasing light. "People take them too seriously." The table erupted with laughter. But I didn't laugh. Something inside me went completely, terrifyingly still. I walked back to the table with the napkins in hand. My smile was still there, polite and hollow, but inside, everything had shifted. The sunlight filtering through the window suddenly felt too bright. The clinking of forks, the smell of coffee, the chatter, it all blurred into static. I sat down beside her and placed the napkins in the middle of the table. "What did I miss?" I asked lightly. Emma looked at me, her face softening instantly, that practiced look of affection. "Oh, nothing, honey. Just talking about Claire's wedding last year." "Ah," I said, nodding. "Vows and all that." She laughed again, this time softer. "Something like that." I smiled back, though I could feel the edges of it cracking. Claire gave me an awkward glance and sipped her drink. She'd always been the worst liar of the group. The rest of brunch passed in fragments. I barely tasted the food. Every time Emma laughed or touched my arm, it felt rehearsed, like she was playing a role. We'd been married for 6 years. We'd had good times, hard ones too. I knew her habits, the way she'd hum when nervous, the way she'd twist her ring when hiding something. And that day she was twisting it, over and over. On the drive home, the silence between us was deafening. Emma scrolled through her phone, smiling faintly. "You were quiet back there," she said. "Just tired," I replied. She nodded, unconcerned. "I'm meeting Sarah later, girls' night." "Right," I said. "Same place as last time." Her eyes flicked toward me for a second too long. "Yeah. Why?" Shrugged. "Just wondering." That was the moment I knew. Not because of her tone. Not because of the slight tremor in her voice. But because she didn't ask me to come. Emma always used to ask. Even when she knew I'd say no. That night, I sat in my car 2 blocks away from Sarah's apartment. The street was quiet, lined with maple trees shedding their autumn leaves. I kept telling myself it was wrong, that I was being paranoid, insecure, childish. But then I saw her. Emma stepped out of her car, wearing a dress I hadn't seen before. She wasn't holding her phone, wasn't looking for Sarah. She was waiting. A minute later, a man emerged from the shadows. Tall, neatly dressed, confident. He smiled and she smiled back. Then she leaned in and kissed him. Not a hesitant, nervous kiss. A kiss that felt like it had history. I didn't remember breathing after that. I watched them walk into the building together, her hand brushing against his. And I sat there, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white, until my heart stopped trying to make excuses for her. When she came home later that night, her hair slightly tousled, I was still awake on the couch. "How was it?" I asked, my voice even. She froze for half a second, just enough for me to notice. Then she smiled. "Fun. We stayed late. You know how Sarah is." He nodded. "Yeah, I know." She walked over and kissed my cheek. I could still smell the cologne that wasn't mine. That's when I knew. There was no misunderstanding left to cling to. For 2 weeks I said nothing. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner. I watched her move through the house like nothing had changed, humming softly, scrolling her phone, texting Sarah every night. I wanted to confront her right away. To shout, to demand why. But something in me wanted her to show me who she really was. To let her lies unfold on their own. And so I waited. The following Sunday we were invited to brunch again. Same group, same restaurant. I almost didn't go. But then I thought, no. Let her feel safe. Let her think the world is still pretending with her. The conversation flowed easily at first. Work gossip, travel plans, jokes about aging. I let her talk, let her laugh, let her think I wasn't watching. Then Claire, drunk on her second mimosa, said something careless. "So, Emma," she slurred with a grin, "you and Daniel still the perfect couple, huh?" Emma smirked. "Perfect's overrated," she said, lifting her glass. "Besides, those vows didn't mean much anyway." Laughter again. Except this time I didn't stay quiet. I set my fork down gently and looked across the table at her. "You're right," I said softly. "They didn't mean much. Not to you." The laughter died instantly. Emma froze, color draining from her face. "Daniel, what are you?" "You remember 2 weeks ago?" I interrupted, my voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the silence. "When you said you were at Sarah's?" Her hand trembled slightly as she set down her glass. Yes. I waited for you to come home. You were later than usual. Around midnight." I leaned back, studying her face. "He walked you to your car, didn't he?" The air thickened. Claire's eyes widened. Another friend shifted uncomfortably. "Daniel not here," Emma whispered. "Why not here?" I said quietly. "This is where you said vows didn't mean much, right?" No one spoke. I could feel my heart pounding, but my voice stayed steady, almost too calm. You know, I used to think marriage was about forgiveness, about working through things. But then I realized, forgiveness only works when both people care about the damage they've done. Her lip trembled. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "No," I said, shaking my head. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. I gestured between us. This was a choice." Tears filled her eyes. "Please, Daniel." But I stood up. I left my half-eaten food on the table, my coffee untouched. As I turned to go, I said the words that made the entire restaurant fall silent. "You're right, Emma. Those vows didn't mean much, because they were wasted on the wrong person." And then I walked out. I didn't go home that night. I drove for hours, aimless, hollow, but free in a way I hadn't felt in years. The sky was dark, the roads empty. I stopped by the lake we used to visit before everything became complicated. The moon reflected on the water, quiet and still, like it didn't care about human heartbreak. I sat there until dawn, replaying everything, the laughter, the lies, the moment she kissed him. And for the first time I didn't cry. I realized something profound. Heartbreak doesn't always come with shouting or rage. Sometimes it's a quiet resignation. A deep, aching calm that tells you the story is over. Few weeks later she sent me a message. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I did it. I miss you." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "You don't miss me. You miss the man who believed in you. He's gone." And I meant it. People at that brunch still talk about that day. How the room went silent, how even the music seemed to stop. But what they don't know is that silence isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes silence is what's left when the lies finally end. And in that silence, I found myself again.